844-204-RICH. You know I'm going to take your call because I love it when people call in. I'm willing to discuss. I love callers. I love callers. Almost as much as Colleen Wolfe loves the Tush Push. That's what I would just say. So, Colleen, it's been a really questionable show. I mean, every time these dirty dogs hear something Tush Push related, like they don't say this when Rich is in the chair. There's no conversation. I happened to mention that I had been researching the Tush Push before coming on, and these idiots just start cackling like they're in seventh grade.
Colleen, all I did was tell her to delete the browser history. That's all. You know what I mean?
I mean, don't you do that anyway?
Right.
Incognito mode. You'll never have to do it.
Absolutely.
Only incognito
Come
mode.
on now.
Come on.
What are we doing?
Amateur hour.
Yeah, but amateur hour. I mean, amateur hour. You guys are the ones cackling over the word. Like, if Rich was sitting in the chair and he says Tush Push, you guys don't even. But I say it,
have you met us? You think we wouldn't laugh?
By the way, it's so true. It's so true. Hey, how are you?
I'm great. You know, it's funny because you say that, and there's so many words that I cannot use on the air or in regular conversation to describe plays in football that guys can. And I would go down the list right now, but I don't want all of the knuckleheads laughing the entire time. But I just want to say we're working with half of a lexicon that's available to us.
Well, you're not even kidding.
I like to hear these words, to be honest with you. I won't laugh, I promise.
No, you don't make promises you can't keep, TJ. Come on. Don't make promises that you can't keep. Sirianni talked this morning at the Combine about it, and obviously Sean McDermott did as well. Sean McDermott wants to get rid of it. Sirianni wants to keep it. What do you think, both as a NFL Network contributor and correspondent and as an Eagles fan?
Well, it's kind of crazy because I am aligned on both fronts as the host at NFL Network and as Colleen Wolfe from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Are you kidding me? Like, we're really going to penalize the Eagles for being incredibly good at this play, and just because other teams can't stop it, they want to disallow it? That's ridiculous. Todd Bowles even said it's up to defensive coaches and defensive players to stop the tush push from working. And if you can't do it, then that's your problem. But the Eagles have figured out how to execute a play perfectly and make it their own. So I don't think that now they should have to not do it anymore and it be banned from the league. Come on, let's get better at defending it. How about that?
Well, Neil deGrasse Tyson did say on your show on Sunday for the Super Bowl in the 45 hours that you guys were talking about the game before the Super Bowl.
The show is still going.
By the way, Rich is somewhere still in the bowels of like the fourth right now. Although we already know that he's probably already pushed a lot of old people out of the way to get on to his plane to Indy. But that's a whole nother conversation. No. But, you know, a physicist told Kyle Brandt that you cannot stop the tush push because of physics. So if it's not a defendable play, Chris Brockman was saying, well, then why wouldn't you run it every play? And I said, well, that's ridiculous. So, I mean, to me, it's like, it's a combination of, if Sean McDermott is saying, I think this should be banned, and he's on the competition committee, but he's the team that runs it the second most, is this sour grapes? Is this just because people can't stop it? And if they could stop it, I mean, what is this just protecting more offensive players? Is this just another slander on the defensive side? What is it? Make sense of this, please.
I mean, it's like hypocritical for Sean McDermott to want this play to be banned when he uses it so much, as you said. But you know what? Like, why don't you come up with a play that can't be stopped either? Why don't you defy physics? Like, I mean, the Eagles did it, so you can too.
What do you think people are going to be buzzing about? Let's go to the Combine now. So as you head out there, and you're going to be out there for the next 5 days again, doing just endless hours of commentary on the Combine, who are you most interested in?
Well, I mean, Suzy, first of all, when I go to Indy, I've never felt shorter in my life. And I'm almost 5'2", so I'm pretty short in all situations. But when I descend upon the Combine, it's just unbelievable. The height of these guys, it's like just a bunch of gladiators walking around, followed by nerds that are grading them. And let me be clear, I'm one of the nerds. I'm just not grading them. So it's just like polo shirts and pleated khaki pants all over Indianapolis, and then the players, obviously. So the draft, the overall consensus is that it's not like a really top-end, talent-strong draft, but because of the experience in it, there's going to be a lot of rookie starters. The quarterbacks are not as strong as last year. We obviously saw 6 go in the first round, and that was an unbelievable amount of talent for quarterbacks. But this is going to be good for defensive line. It's going to be good for dynamic DBs. There's some good running backs, and there's some good wide receivers in this class too.
So as we look at the guys who are going to throw, because we know the list is fairly long of the guys who won't throw, we're looking at kind of Jackson Dart. We're looking at Milroe from Alabama. McCord, your Syracuse guy, right? Kyle McCord, who I think,
Yes,
I
sir.
believe, huh?
Yes, I like him a lot.
Your guy. What, you like him a lot.
I do.
So does Jordan Palmer.
He does.
All right. So we can ask you about him in a second. Riley Leonard. I mean, we could talk about some of these guys. Are people like, what's the buzz potential on some of these guys? Because it just feels like you've got this row of elite quarterbacks. You've got this secondary group that's going to throw. And then you got everyone saying, well, no one's as good as they were last year anyway, so why are we bothering? Like, where do you sit in this one, Colleen?
Well, I always find it so funny because it kind of feels like the same thing every year. It's a little Groundhog's Day to me because every year we hear, I don't know, this draft, it's like, it's a little weak. It's not as strong as last year. Last year's draft class was blah, 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 blah. And then same thing with some of these top prospects. And then as soon as the combine happens, it's like, oh my God, so-and-so ran this 40, did so great. And all of a sudden, all of these prospects are top prospects. And this draft is deep and talented. And I kind of expect the same exact thing to happen. Maybe not so much with the quarterbacks, but maybe bumping up some other positions to that higher end of the first round. But I honestly just feel like every year you come in and it's the same thing. Like, I don't know. I don't know about these guys and the talent, but honestly, like talk to me next week and things will be different. And then as we get closer to the draft, it's just more and more.
Yeah, and Quinn Ewers, I should mention him because I think Rich is still having headaches over what he did to Michigan. At Michigan. I mean, Chris, you love Kyle.
Oh, Kyle McCord? Yeah, Jordan Palmer came in and detailed exactly why he should not be slept on. He should be a middle round pick and has a chance to really start in the league. Look, Colleen, you know this better than most. Every year there's like 60 quarterbacks who end up playing because guys get hurt, concussions, you miss a week here and there, and you're looking for that in the draft, and especially in these middle rounds. These college quarterbacks who have played 2, 3, 4 years. They have the experience and they have the ability to come in and play right away, and you don't have to worry about them. They're not the Anthony Richardson project types. They have 40, 50 starts. Just look what Bo Nix did this year. They have all these starts under their belts and they can come in and be productive right away, and that's what you're getting in Quinn Ewers, Kyle McCord, Riley Leonard. That's what you're getting in these guys, and they should be highly sought after during this draft coming up.
Yeah, I think that anytime you have a quarterback that has experience over potential, like when GMs see the potential, it's almost like, oh my God, it's this like shiny new car. And of course you want it, but like, you're going to be parking it outside. Maybe it might get scratched. Like you kind of want to go with the thing that is absolutely like not certain, but you know that it's going to be reliable and you know that it's been in these situations before. Like the players that have these reps and the experience, they're the ones that come in and they can build upon the foundations that they already bring in. But really, it's such a crapshoot with the draft because so many things have to align, especially for the quarterback. You have to have the right coaches. You need to land in the right place with the right players around you. You need the right style of teaching. You need injury luck to play into it too. There's just so many things that have to go right. And so many times things go wrong. And then it comes back on the player and the GM. But really, it's just the situation wasn't great.
Colleen Wolfe joining us here on the Rich Eisen Show. Suzy Shuster in for Rich Eisen. What I love about the Combine are the surprises. I remember in 2006, Rich called me and he said, who is this kid, Vernon Davis? Didn't you cover him at Maryland? And I said, yeah, I had covered him for 2-3 years there. And he said to me, he is exploding all over the Combine. And he came in and he lifted, he ran the shuttle. It was sick. I mean, he played himself up to the number 6 pick because people really didn't know who he was. Like the Terrapins weren't really registering. They hadn't been that good in the ACC that year. So who do you think will be somebody that might surprise people in this Combine?
Well, I don't know if people will be super surprised, but I do think that Will Johnson has a chance to run the fastest 40. And that's always the thing that everybody wants to see. Everyone wants to know. I mean, there are people sitting in the stands still with their own stopwatches, timing guys. I mean, this is like the marquee event for the combine, and Will Johnson, nothing will raise your draft stock more than running the fastest 40, or running a 40 at least that people don't expect you to do. And conversely, if for a guy speed is the question, like for someone, a wide receiver like Arian Smith, for instance, like he could really affect his draft stock if he ends up running well, because that's the question for him, is the speed.
The question I have for you is, can you beat Rich in the 40?
Absolutely, no question.
I know.
Sprinter.
That was
I'm
easy.
short, so I'm like aerodynamic.
That's very easy and yet sad at the same time. I mean, last question. You were at the Eagles parade. What was that like? I mean, so here you are, and I'm sure that you got recognized, right? Because you're on TV every 5 seconds. But what was it like seeing your team, seeing the parade, trying not to be absolutely hammered just in case? So explain what your experience was like.
Okay, well, first of all, I really could not get absolutely hammered because the whole reason I was in town was for my Uncle Jack's wedding. So I was always going to be in Philadelphia on February 14th. And it just so happened to be the Eagles parade. So I wasn't even planning originally to go to it. And then I ended up there. I wasn't working. It was the first time that I'm at some type of event like this where I'm just kind of like a fan, a civilian. And it was so much fun. And I ended up calling in to the network. So I guess I could count that as a day of work. But I told them, I'm like, I have some Fireball just in my pocket right now. Like, it was such a good time. Everyone was just like elated. It was euphoric. And I felt like the first parade for the Eagles, it was more of a release. Like, oh, it finally happened. They did it. It was almost like people were a little exhausted from holding on so tight to the wheel. And then this time it was more of a party, like, oh my God, we did it again. Let's run it back and go a third time. So it was a very different experience for me, but it was very fun to see everyone out together, all celebrating the same thing, all getting along. I mean, Eagles fans are amazing, as you know. I mean, the media always talks about how great they are, but that day was
Now, listen to me. Here's what you do. You take your expense report, right? Because you called in. You take Uncle Jack's expenses for that wedding and you just submit them.
Smart.
You know what I'm saying? You called in. That's work, babe.
That's
okay?
true.
Yep.
I'm
That's
just
thinking
saying.
right there.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Colleen, as a fellow person who's seen lots of parades for their favorite team.
Oh, my
Oh,
God.
boy. Yeah, I like it.
Which one did you enjoy more? The one a few years ago or this latest one?
I enjoyed the first one just because it hadn't been done before, and it was just so different for the city to be celebrating the Eagles in a championship, because when the Phillies won the World Series back in, what was that, 2008, that was a massive event. Nothing like that had happened in so long. But the Eagles are really the heart and soul of Philadelphia. And so when they got it done, and the way they got it done with Nick Foles beating the Patriots and Tom Brady, come on, like, who saw that coming? Who thought that that would work? And it ended up happening, and it was just destiny. It was
Yeah, I
great.
don't know what you're talking about, but it's been great having you on.
They beat Matt Patricia. They didn't beat Tom Brady.
Whatever.
beat
They
Matt
did not
Patricia.
beat Tom Brady. All right?
Right.
They did not
Brady had
beat
500
Tom
yards.
Brady.
It's fine.
How do you feel about the Philly special?
They did not beat Tom Brady.
Banned. It should be banned. Like the Tush
Ridiculous.
Push.
To be banned.
I hate everything about it.
Yeah, you do. As an angry Mets fan. How was that parade? Wait a minute.
Mets? What? How are you getting from...
Well, Phillies.
I bounce around, baby.
Phillies,
I bounce. You got. I bounce around
Cowboys.
fast. All right. Safe travels. We'll see you when you get
Okay.
back. Thanks for taking
Have
the
fun,
time.
Colleen. See ya.
All right, bye guys.
See
Go
Bye.
Birds.
How?
She's tiny. She is. She makes me look like. You know, she said
Well,
she's
you're
like.
tall for.
I know,
for
but
a
when I
woman,
stand
yeah.
next to her, I look like
She's like
her
5'4".
bodyguard.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S. Search Rich Eisen Show on your Roku device for daily replays.